I guess it's one of those things. It's like, for me, it's always been something where like I didn't want to be in a situation where I couldn't do what I was asked.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously there's a whole bunch of stuff I can't do.
Sure.
But for the kind of work that I have put myself into, I want to be able to, you know, because at the end of the day, it's like if Mark Lettieri, the artist, if nothing happens with that, like I want to have the ability to just do other stuff for other people and what's required. So
still have a career.
Sure. So, you know, I guess I've sort of put that into the way that I approach my solo career or my solo sound, I guess I should say, because I've always liked flashy guitar playing, but I've also always just really liked great songs and great melodies and just, you know, you're the same way, man. You get you get excited about just simple stuff. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be, you know, math to be great.
Right. Well, something simple and melodic played really well and with some stank on it is just as hard.
Absolutely. It's probably harder.
It's probably harder than shredding a bunch of 30-second notes.
In fact, I guarantee you it's harder.
Yeah. And so, you know, when I listen to your solo records, which I enjoy thoroughly, you kind of swim around. First of all, you're really, really good at using pedals for sounds. That's something like I've tried to emulate a couple of the sounds, and I don't have the right equipment.
I'll tell you all of my one secret.
Yeah, I don't have the equipment, but that's something. And then when you're doing that, you're creating, like you just said, you're worrying more about the sonicness of the song, and you're not concerning yourself with how much you're playing, and you know, and that goes a long way for me, and I think to a lot of other people, obviously, because it's all been fairly successful. But that goes a long way. It's really fun because I've seen you in a lot of different settings, from the black and blues.
That's true.
To your stuff, to Snarky Puppy, to just sitting in on other stuff. I've seen you do a lot of things because of the proximity, and it's always really impressive how you just kind of plug yourself in, like you've been doing it with that person for so long. Man. That's a testament to your ear and just your creative sense. I think that's something that a lot of people would strive for, and that's I attribute a lot of that to your success, and
thanks,
I'm
man.
Sure your continued success. So
well, I mean, you know, thank you, but it's one of those things, you know, like
I'm not going to compliment you anymore.
Nah,
that was it.
I don't mind.
I did it all at once.
But, I mean, you know, you're a guitar player, you're a songwriter. You know that whatever you're putting forth on your instrument has to serve the greater purpose.
Right.
And, you know, I can listen to great guitar players, but if they're a great guitar player with a record full of not great songs, I'm not interested. Yeah. Like, you know, and
that happens.
I can tell if you're good if after 4 bars.
Sure. Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, now what? Right. So hopefully I can get that point across to people. That's like, okay, cool. I guess you can play a little bit. What does this tune sound like?
Yeah.
What's the emotion? What's happening here?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right. Well, that's something that's hard to capture without lyrics. Emotion, music is a very emotional experience in general, and you know, and I try to, when I was teaching students, I would tell them you're creating dissonance and you're resolving dissonance. That's for sure. That's how you're utilizing music. To me, that's what it means. And you use this vast amount of scales and chords and notes and to do that. Mm-hmm. But then you can put lyrics on top of it that kind of drive the point home, and the music pushes the lyrics further into a deeper state. Right. So I guess, and your music it does come across as there is emotion behind it. There's something happening. It makes you feel things. Cool. And I guess it's got to be really difficult to do that without using lyrics.
It's easier than you think, maybe.
I've never tried it.
Well,
so
I think it just depends. See, well, I'm going to have to ask you how you do it because I'm a terrible lyricist. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where that's just the way you identify. You know, you identify with writing it out with words. Mm-hmm. And that's a skill that I just don't have. And so I've always been interested in instrumental music, but I think like when I was writing songs from the very beginning after I learned how to play guitar, you know, after like a year or two of just figuring it out, I never cared about words. I just wanted to make cool statements on the guitar. Yeah. And so it's just like, it's been a whole period of just kind of trying to focus on that and making sure that whatever emotion or feeling or inspiration inspired the sort of seed that creates a song, as long as I can keep that going through the entire composition, I know I have like a good body, a piece of material. Yeah. Right. So, but you know, it's interesting with instrumental music because you might feel something when you write it, but then you give it to somebody else and they think of it and they're like, oh, was this song about that? Because that's the way it makes me feel.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it is to you, and you're right.
Yeah.
You know, so I kind of like having that kind of like, there's no right answer to it, you know? But even with lyrics, they can mean different things to different people. And that's just the great thing about music, man.
Yeah. It's very subjective.
Totally.
And that is the great thing about it.